Sitting behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office, Donald Trump lifts the model of a B-2 bomber into his hands, turns it, admires it, and smiles. "Let me just hug that little sucker." Not a joke, not a slip, a glimpse. He praises its size, marvels at its power, boasts that when he sent its real counterpart into the night, every single bomb dropped right down the chute. This is not how a leader or even a man speaks about war. This is how a child speaks about a toy, and that is what's so chilling. He doesn't speak of tragedy, of cost, of death. He speaks of spectacle, of mastery, of pleasure. Over and over again, "We have the strongest military by far. No one even close fears them, and it's not even close." He lingers with glee on bombs falling perfectly. He revels in the biggest explosions anybody's ever heard. Days earlier, he looked at Cog Island, reduced to rubble, and said the US could strike at some more just for fun. Just for fun. Violence is not reluctant, it is indulgent. Not a burden, an appetite. Not necessity, play. And it doesn't stop with him. From the Oval Office to the Pentagon, the language doesn't change. Pete Hegseth, with sheer exhilaration, declares B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, death and destruction from the sky all day long. All day long. The words of a psychopath, not a statesman. And he says the rules are designed to unleash American power, not shackle it. No restraints, in other words. Permission to destroy, permission to relish the act of destruction. This is not rhetoric, this is doctrine. At Munich, Marco Rubio calls for a Western civilization to regroup, to reassert dominance, to build a new Western century. Colonial guilt? A weakness. Taken together, this is an administration with one organizing principle: brutal force, no restraint, no law, no treaties, no interest in the very institutions America built after World War II. Look closer at the men entrusted with war. A war secretary accused of sexual misconduct, who paid to silence a rape allegation, who shows up to work drunk, who frequents strip clubs, harasses women until he's thrown out, whose colleagues recall drunken nights shouting, "Kill all Muslims," whose own mother spoke of a long record of abuse of women, and there are many, she says. Even his body speaks. Deus Vult, the Crusaders' call, the Jerusalem cross, symbol of the Knights Templar, founded in occupied Jerusalem in 1119 with Al-Aqsa Mosque as their headquarters, Kafir in Arabic, infidel, a pathological obsession with Muslims. These are not tattoos, they are declarations, fragments of a sick worldview in which politics becomes crusade and the modern world a permanent battlefield between the West and its enemies, Islam foremost among them. And then those who don't just surround power but steer it. Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, a son-in-law, a real estate magnate, no diplomatic training, no strategic depth, yet placed at the center of nuclear negotiations. This is not unconventional, it is structural. Proximity replaces competence, loyalty replaces expertise, nepotism replaces statecraft. But the problem runs deeper still. A British diplomat described them as operating like Israeli assets. Reports go further. The president was not merely advised, but misled, presented with a distorted picture of negotiations that paved the way to war. And the concern did not stop there. From inside the system, a resignation. The director of the National Counterterrorism Center, unable to support a war launched without necessity, no imminent threat, no justification. And he pointed directly to pressure from Israel and its lobby as a driving force behind the war. Because these men are not just aligned, they are embedded. Witkoff, a staunch supporter of Israel, close to Miriam Adelson, carrying a pager gifted by Mossad, celebrating an operation in which thousands of pagers exploded across Lebanon, killing civilians, children, health workers, injuring thousands more. Kushner, bound by deep financial, political, and personal ties to Israel's far-right leadership, at the center of policy, without distance, without neutrality. And these were the men entrusted with diplomacy, with nuclear negotiations, with one of the most dangerous files in modern geopolitics, ill-equipped, inexperienced, ideologically aligned, more attuned to Netanyahu's priorities than to preventing war or protecting American interests. And then the record closes in. The Omani foreign minister, who mediated the talks, says a deal was on the table, a deal that met Trump's demands. It was not rejected, it was abandoned. Just like that. The British National Security Advisor agrees. No imminent Iranian threat. A favorable agreement within reach. Diplomacy did not fail. It was deliberately cut short, and the most damning judgment comes from one of the diplomats present. He regarded Witkoff and Kushner as Israeli assets that dragged a president into a war he wanted to get out of. And now the pattern is unmistakable. Power is no longer a public trust, it is private property, distributed to family, to friends, to loyalists. A son-in-law runs diplomacy, a friend handles nuclear negotiations. This is not dysfunction, this is the system, and through it, American power bends, not toward its own interests, but towards the priorities of another state. Diplomacy no longer mediates, it acts on behalf of another state. And the machinery of the United States, its fleets, its bombers, its sanctions, its global leverage is bent to serve. And as the Omani foreign minister warned, there are two parties to this war who have nothing to gain from it. America has lost control of its own foreign policy. What we're witnessing is something more primitive, a thuggish, power-drunk administration where domination is the only language, militarism, civilizational arrogance, crusading fantasies, no longer at the margins, but at the center of power. These are not fringe figures, they command fleets, bombers, armies, and they speak like a gang, boastful, taunting, intoxicated by force. And even now the language doesn't change. Last night Trump tweeted saying, "I wonder what would happen if we finished them off." Not strategy, reprisal, not just against Iran, but against anyone who refuses to fall in line. A modern Nero, flames rising behind him, spectacle before him, and a world watching in